Adam's made over the years. He's won some awards for those back in like what 2006 or something. He got some money for it. I don't know. It's something I actually like saw all those animations when I was like in high school or something. I was like, man, these are cool. So to like then go, learn how to program games in college and then go work on stuff and then eventually be working on the game for it is kind of neat. It also makes Adam feel really old. But I never thought I'd be working on stuff like that. It's always interesting, like when I was growing up, etc. I played like a whole bunch of Diablo 2 and StarCraft and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh man, yeah, he is really old. Like he's a geriatric now. Like we're gonna be putting Adam in a home here in another couple of years. 270 just this year. Yeah, he's doing that. I always thought I'd work for like Blizzard or something, but now that I'm like in the industry, it's like I don't want to work for Blizzard. It's pretty funny. Though I don't know, who knows? I might end up working for him at some point. No reason not to. A lot of people I know work at Blizzard, and it's a good place. But you never know. Yes, there is a shitload of water. Yeah, Adam's got some really cool ideas for that, especially like Bitey running across water, all that stuff. He wants crazy effects going off. So it'll be interesting. Alright, so you have the head and the tail of the wave. I need to draw a line from start to finish in texture space. So we need like our int 32sx, sy, ex, ey. We're going to draw from head to tail. So I need a get grid square for world position 2D. And I think it's just the same thing entirely. So top, left, top, right, and all that stuff. Cool. It's not really an unrealistic question. Like, I could probably go get onto any of those teams. Like Warcraft, there is where they train up all their new people, pretty much. That's kind of like one of the things that Blizzard, as far as I understand, is like World of Warcraft and all that stuff is where it's a good place to put a whole bunch of junior engineers because there's like tools that have been used for years and years and years, and there's new stuff that needs to be made, and there's a lot of it, so it's like it's a good place for people to go make mistakes, and there's a bunch of tools in there to help them and examples to do just about everything, so it's actually a very good place to be a junior engineer. But I wouldn't want to be like maintaining a whole bunch of those, quote-unquote legacy systems that have been around forever. It's not really the most interesting thing on the planet if you already know how to build those systems. And like Heroes of the Storm and everything in a MOBA, I mean, what I would rather work on, I'd rather work on something like Overwatch, but mainly because like I'd like playing that game better. But if I was just going to go by my skill set, I'd probably work on the back-end platform for Battle.net. because I'm not a gameplay guy. Like, I'm here doing graphics and other crap, but this is not my skill set. My skill set is like, going and making the back-end servers for message passing and getting your online text chat working properly, or making it so you can buy something in the game and that like your data saves properly, and like matchmaking. Those are my skill sets. So if I was going to do anything there, I'd probably do something else. I wouldn't be on any of those. Because I don't know, being a gameplay programmer or something like that is probably a more bullshit position in a lot of ways. I guess I shouldn't say that. It's more of a... There's so many gameplay programmers that kind of go fix the Ubisoft servers. No, I'm not going to go to France. But there's so many people who want to be gameplay programmers. And a lot of gameplay programming is taking what the designer wants and making it reality, even if you don't really agree with what the designer wants. So like, you might have some designer that has some idea, and maybe you don't like that idea. You still have to implement that. And a lot of gameplay programming is kind of more wild, wild west. You just throw stuff in there because stuff changes all the time. So pretty much every day you work on something new, but every day you're also throwing away a whole bunch of stuff you wrote. It can be kind of frustrating, and since everybody wants to be a gameplay programmer growing up, there's more of them, so they're less highly paid, and there's more of them, so it gets kind of squirrely. I really like being a server engineer because we're basically unicorns. Nobody grows up wanting to be a server engineer, even though I believe it's very interesting and rewarding work. So you end up being able to, there's usually on like a team, the server engineers are very highly sought after because they know all the back end crazy bullshit that nobody knows and can make magic happen. And there just aren't many of them. So, you get to be in more important positions on the team because there's just less of you. And you get to make all the decisions yourself, so you're not in like a 20-person or 30-person meeting room trying to design a system. You're in like a 5-person or 4-person meeting room designing a system, and so you get to have much more creative input. Of course, because there are so few of them also, you get a lot of server infrastructure stuff that just utterly sucks. Like, it's not a solved problem, server infrastructure stuff. And I find that a lot of people believe open source solutions for server stuff is the best way to go forward, and you need to understand what the hell you're doing. And there's all this like, oh, we're going to use these new NoSQL everything, and I'm just like, does it scale? And they'll be like, oh yeah, it totally does. And they'll like have documentation. I'll just be like, it doesn't mean jack shit to me. I point at a game that uses that in production or at some scale, and they're like, oh, well, that system uses Oracle databases, or that system uses Microsoft SQL, and these things cost a fortune. And be like, well, you know what? There's a fucking reason they use them. It's because it works. It just reminds me of this one like political cartoon I saw at one point with like some like old business dude at like the top of a cliff, like struggling along with like a stick trying to climb this mountain. And he just looks like a regular dude with a suit and tie. And this other guy who's like wearing a bunch of hipster clothes and like glasses and everything is on this mountain. He just like jumps off the edge, and he's, it's got written on him like .com bubble. He's like, I don't see what's so hard about this, bro. And he just like jumps off the cliff and falls and dies. It's like it's something like that. It's like there have been people climbing these mountains for a very long time, and they're still around. It's like if you know the game Hawken and everything like that. Like, man, the rise and fall of that game, that's for sure. They were super hot shit everywhere. And then, like, boom, where the hell did they go? Alright, so we'll grab our position for our head and our tail, and we're going to need to then do our line drawing algorithm. Do we really give a shit about our line drawing? Yeah, we should. We probably should. Alright, so if the difference in x is greater than the difference in y, then iterate over the x-axis. Otherwise, we're going to iterate over the y-axis. So basically what we're going to do is for int 32 I equals 0, I is, we're actually going to do I equals sx, I is less than or equal to ex plus plus I. This is going to be our x coordinate. We do not know if sx and ex are actually on the same plane, so what we should do is we should have the diff, and that should be fmath. How do we know which direction we're going in? We need to go from the head to the tail, so we should either go left or right. So in 32 iterator, yeah, actually one of my friends is doing a report in it to some people at Amazon. He works at Amazon, and he was going over some stuff, and there's some learnings there where For Honor, like, they had a drop off of like 95% of their users after a certain amount of time. And I think it's about like, you need to have like new content, you need to be able to release it regularly, and like all this other stuff. And there's a bunch of different projects and products that have done all that. Alright, so we're going to need to go from one to the other, and we want to know the diff. I'll just have it be direction. So we'll snag the sign of this thing. So we need to compute the y coordinate. So the y is going to be, well, round to int, it's going to be what? Our x multiplied by our slope or something like that? I guess I do need the slope. So slope is rise over run. So we are starting at the beginning, and then we're going in this direction. So it's going to be, the y is going to be, what, sy plus round to int. We're going to calculate, this is going to be the slope of the line, so this will be slope times x. Is that what it is? So we're going to have, this will be our value. So this will be our iteration value, not our actual value. So we want int32 ax and ay. So ax is going to be x plus, it's going to be sx plus I. Should we just do length or something? Should we do it like this? I is less than or equal to len. And 32 len equals what? The fmath. Absolute value of sx minus ex. Yeah, pretty much a lot of the games that I've seen be successful are competitive, team-based games where interacting, like stuff like World of Tanks and the rest has really helped out. I mean, has really been successful. Same thing with like, you know, the games where if you permadeath sort of stuff has really caught on, and that has a lot to do with getting into the next game quickly. Like if go back to like Halo and stuff like that, right? That multiplayer is super awesome, but then like you got that respawn time where, you know, people then want to play modes where the respawn time is, you know, super short and stuff like that, because sitting around doing nothing is really freaking annoying. But then if the respawn time is too short, then games like Capture the Flag don't work at all. So you have like round-based games like Counter-Strike or whatever, and you have to just like sit there and you're just twiddling your fucking thumbs watching some idiot like try to crouch jump over something, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, really? I think the games like World of Tanks and, you know, some of the others where you die, you're out, and you just find the next game are really compelling, because the longer you're in the game, even if you're doing nothing, like the cooler the game is. Like imagine a game of Halo or something where if you die, you just go to the next entire game. So if you're there and you're actually like grabbing the flag and running with it, like there's only like 1 or 2 people left on the map, so it becomes that much more dramatic. So those games have really been successful so far as I've seen. Anyway, so we got the slope, we have the length of this thing. Alright, so this is going to be the x multiplied by the slope, the sx and ay. Let's just have I here. This is going to be I times slope. Hello, I'm a whore. How are you doing today? I'm working on line drawing algorithms. Because that's how you make waves, you draw lines, apparently. Alright, and what we want to do is, this is going to start at 0, and then it's going to go all the way from 1 to -1 to 0 over the course of going from head to tail. So, I actually need, what do I need? If the wavelength is like 0, we're not gonna draw a goddamn thing because of our wave shape. So we actually have to have wave shapes that are multiple pixels wide, otherwise the wave's gonna look like nothing, because we're not actually gonna be able to do anything with it. Well, that's fine. We'll deal with that as we get to it. basically it's going to be magnitude equals the like what, pi times 2, it's going to be f math sine of 2 pi. We're going to take our wavelength, our current value, so it's going to be like I divided by ln times 2 pi is going to be our magnitude, and then we multiply that by our like wave amplitude. That's what we need to do. And that's going to be our actual magnitude. So when we go into our data, so in32 data index is going to be ax plus ay times m mapped width. So we're going to say data, some data index. No, we are using our cells here, so cells sub data index m magnitude plus equals magnitude. You're quite confused regarding the game mode and how it's supposed to be implemented. Is it the same as just making an empty game object in Unity and calling it in the game manager? The game mode? So you're talking about the Unreal 4 game mode stuff? So as far as I understand, the game mode is like something that's, as far as, it's like the concept of the game mode would be something that you just like boot up at the start. Like, what type of game is this? Is this the game client? Is this the game server? Is this something else? So it's more of like if you booted up a game, like you remember like the old shitty games, like NES games or Super Nintendo games that boot up and they have like 20 mini games in it, like maybe like the Olympics, like track and field stuff, where you like boot up into like a game mode of, you know, playing water polo or like playing, you know, downhill skiing or something. Like each one of those things is like a completely separate game in Unreal. So you'd have like some browser menu and you like boot up a completely separate game mode that has its own rules, and like everything else gets unloaded and you just load up this other thing as a new game. That's kind of what I see the game modes are. Yeah, like a PS2 demo disc. It's like an entirely separate game construct as far as I understand. So I think that's... I might just be full of shit, but I think that's kind of how that works. Alright, so we're just going to add to the magnitude by this current value. Alright, so I think we set our cell data properly, so now I need to like fill all that data inside of our texture. You can have different combinations with each game mode, like having a game mode with the same pawn, and the mechanics the previous one used different HUDs. For example, let's say water level. Yeah, I don't know, it's... As far as I saw, the main use for a game mode thing might be like a game server that you boot up into different game instances or something like that. But, I don't know. I think it's more of a concept I'm not sure I would use too much. Like, I like the levels and everything, but like the game mode is... I don't know. I think you'd have to be on a larger project than kind of a small thing. Like if you're just making like your own game or something, I would imagine to have like an entirely separate game mode thing, you probably need to be working on a project that has mini games and stuff like that, and it'd be a nice way to organize all that crap out. Yeah, like if you had a whole big complicated mess and you needed to really partition stuff out because it was too much of a pain in the ass to all kind of code it together. But even then, like for game mode, because it'd be like you have a game mode and then you have a level that game mode boots up. It might be a good way to organize stuff, but it really depends on your project. So I can see arguments all over the place. And also, you're talking to somebody who hasn't actually used game modes in a large project, so I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just going to boot up a single game mode and just, because it's all the same game mode for us, so it just doesn't matter for me. Alright, so we're going to set the texture component data sub I dot. Let's set the R channel to the magnitude in our cells sub I divided by max mag. Let's take the absolute value here. I'm going to make it red for positive and blue for negative. I'm just going to try that out. I should just set them to -1 and -1, I think. Nah, let's not. Why don't we do it this way? If it's less than or equal to 0, it's greater than or equal to 0. That way we have the signs properly set up. Well, yeah, just look at what, it's called the Unreal Engine. It came from Unreal. Came from Epic. What do they make? Gears of War. It makes a lot more sense in a FPS context. Alright, so we got our max mag and min mag. So I'm just gonna say max mag equals fmath max. Alright, so supposedly that should be a red or blue, and we should actually have everything written. We're also going to have our life. Life percent is going to be, we're going to need float now. It's going to be this get game time. It's going to be now minus created time divided by parted in life. Let's just set this lifetime up here. Yeah, the starter animations are extremely similar to Gears of War 4 animations. Yeah, exactly. If now is greater than part that in death time, then we're going to continue. So part that in exists equals false. Continue. Part that in life time. Alright, so life percent, and we're just going to multiply by our life percent. It should go from 0 to 1, so this will be 1.0f minus this value. So life percent inverse. Well, theoretically we should have waves now, and they should work. They should be red and blue on our texture, and they should have widths, they should have all that sort of bullshit. 1 to 0 is just using the maximum amplitude and minimum amplitude. So we should see debugging values work properly. And we will not see reflections or any of that stuff, but we could implement them by changing the directions of our particles and things like that. I have no idea if this is going to work. But hell, it might work. The only issues I can see is that if it's not wide enough in world space, we might not actually see anything, because it's going to go from 0 to 1 to 0 to -1 to 0 over the course of this particle thing. And if that's not multiple pixels wide, we're not going to see jack shit. we're setting this to 0, 0, 0. It should be white as soon as we tick it, but it's not going to be because we changed what we passed in, didn't we? So we're not actually going to tick anything. Yeah, SX and EX and SY and EY are both 0. So let's see, the head and the tail were the same thing. Half wave is just not big enough. So we have 3 different cases, so it'd basically be like if SX equals SY and EX equals EY, otherwise. So if the wave is just 1 pixel wide, what do we want to write? I guess we want to just write the magnitude. You know, it's just going to be, the magnitude is going to be that. We're not going to take the sine or anything, it's going to be the magnitude multiplied by the life inverse. And we're just going to use SX and SY. Luciferin into a subterranean stream to make outward surfaces. I thought it was like a Mountain Dew. Yeah, who would imagine that you would find any science nerds in a stream that is just about programming? Not I. Not I. What the hell am I thinking? It's SX equals EX and SY equals EY. Ah. I'm out of caffeine. This is actually a problem. Like, I was searching around, and the only thing I had for energy drinks today was like two, like third full energy drinks that I had just like had sitting around because I had forgotten. So I've been drinking like the stale energy drink you left in the fridge for a week, basically, because I got nothing else. Well, I'm hitting the button and nothing's happening. So, why is that? Alright, so our data index is, magnitude is 9.5, so subdata index is this SX and SY, so we're at 17 blah. Max mag is 9.5. So we're writing a few things here. I'm looking for single pixels that are popping up somewhere, but it looks like there's not. Wait, yeah, there was a little red thing over there. It's actually just spawn a fat sack. There should be red pixels that follow them. Couldn't make any more particles. Yeah, so there are little pooping out little red particles. So let's see, what's going to be going on here? It's going to be create ripple, radius of 10. This is going to be in world space, I believe, so we should have a radius of like 1,000. Magnitude of 10, that's fine. Lifetime of 3 is fine. Wave speed maybe is too slow. Alright, so let's have the middle X and middle Y here. CX and CY for center X and center Y. And basically what we're going to say is if CX is less than equal to 0 or CY is less than equal to 0, cx is greater than or equal to mmap.inWidth. Let's just do size. Cy is greater than or equal to size part.inExists equals false, and continue. Alright, this check should never be true, so it shouldn't matter, but this one may. So we'll throw our checks in here for this. Alright, so what we're not doing for our position there is we're not actually setting our position to anything. Like we have part world pause, but we're not actually updating our part world pause, is what it looks like. So we'll set that equal to down there. We'll just set it equal there. See what it is. Oh shit, look at that. So let's see, I'm not seeing any blue. Of course he's gonna get his fat ass stuck in the back there. I think he fell off. So yeah, there's no blue going on. So why is that? Did that one reflect off the shore there? No, we have not added any shore reflection stuff whatsoever. I actually need to print out that position that we're spawning stuff at, and I want to get that position and hard-coded in there. That way I can hit a button and just have it spawn the same thing over and over again for me. But it is pretty cool that it's actually starting to look like we're going to be able to do this. I am happy about that. Hello, Terrific Tailor. Are you a terrific tailor because your name is Taylor, or because you're actually a person who makes clothes? Or perhaps you are a spy for the Cardassian Empire? Either way, welcome. I think that was a decent place there. Let's snag that. Call you by your former name? Then you'll know the answer. Well, I'm working on this stuff here. Do you remember who you are? I don't think I do. Maybe I just have a terrible memory. Maybe I was drunk. Either way. I am not realizing it right now. Did this not actually put it in the right spots? Well, I should be able to just get a frickin' position out here. Let's just drag this rock over here. Oh, the former CC, we've been over this? Oh, welcome. I'm still working on water, much to probably your chagrin. Alright, there we go. So we're working on this to see what we can get for our dynamic ripples. So what is going on here? I don't see any blue coming off, so that's a problem. I'm also going to change this to the B key. The A key doing this is kind of pissing me off. Alright, so B key. Oh yeah, that's not the B key, that's the S key. I'm just so used to other things. Alright, so we're not getting any blues. You got gifted an office chair from a friend who lives upstairs? Well, hopefully it's a cool office chair and hopefully not filled with horrifying insects. Welcome, Lucas. I'm sure I'm putting your mind at ease. I'm working on dynamic ripples at the moment. So these are like dynamically created things in here. This is just the debug texture for it. That's some buck saved. It's totally true. Also, I'm gonna go scrounge around real quick and see if I have any other energy drinks because I want some caffeine. Damn it. Yeah, it doesn't look like any luck. See, this is where I'd like Amazon Prime Now to be in. Really wish that was over here in Spokane because then I could just like go on my phone and just be like, I need a whole bunch of energy drinks, deliver within an hour, and then I could just sit back and keep working, and then some dude would show up and just like drop it off at my doorstep. That was pretty awesome being in Seattle. Alright, so this is what our texture is currently drawing for these things. Looks like we're just drawing single pixels. And we're not drawing anything else. And they're fading out. Are they not normalized? Is that why we have these? No, it's because of the other pixel stuff. Alright, I'm gonna increase the number of max particles to like, 6,000. Why not? Make some coffee. See, I don't have any coffee there. And I don't know. Not really a coffee person. This is so technical. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am an engineer. That's kind of what I do. See, I can't draw worth shit, so I have to make everything complicated so people think I'm smart or talented instead of actually being smart or talented. The waterwork? Let me give you an exact number.